A sweet hello to those of you who are watching, and welcome if you haven't stumbled upon my channel. Okay, so let us start with the objectives of me making the video. First of all, I know that if you are on a journey of discovering your psychic ability, it can get a little lonely sometimes, but now that you have me and you have this space, I hope that you won't feel lonely anymore. Okay, next, it is also for those of you who have friends or family members who has psychic ability. I hope that this video will help you understand them better and be more supportive when you are with them. So, moving on, we know that this world is made up of extremes, two extremes to be exact. It's always yin and yang, light and darkness, the sun and the moon, the male and the female, and in this matter, we have the believers and the skeptics. So, to all the skeptics who are watching, my intention is not to convince you or to convert you to believe in what we believe. My intention is for us to create a more harmonious and a more supportive environment for those who have the psychic abilities and felt that they have been discriminated by others. Okay, so let us start. This is actually my personal experience since I was young. Okay, so I will walk you through the journey with different stages that I went through from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, which is right now. Okay, let us start with childhood. So my childhood, I was born very energetic, very vibrant, very loud, talkative, very active. Maybe it's because of my sun sign, which is Aries. So I think the characteristics might not be the best indicator, because characteristics formations during childhood can be attributed to many factors like your environment, your relationship with your parents, and also your sun, your moon sign, and also other factors as well. So moving on, we come to your senses. Okay, as we know, we have our sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. So most people, when they make decisions, they are guided with the sense of sight, very much like how dog is guided by their sense of smell. You know, they sniff a lot. So if you are a psychic, or you have psychic ability since you were born, then you will know that you have a particular sense that is more developed. For myself, it was my sense of hearing. I remembered when I was still very young, every night when my parents put me to bed and then turn off the light and they themselves went to bed, and when the house was very still in the middle of the night, and I don't fall asleep so easily as I grow older. So I hear presence of other spirits, some sort of footsteps, because at that time my young mind couldn't interpret what was happening. So what I hear was beyond our plane, beyond our dimension. It's almost like you have an extra antenna that picks up vibrations from a different dimension, something like that. So I can hear those footsteps outside my bedroom every night. Sometimes they are even inside in my room, standing next to my bed, like watching me. But I don't feel fear or anything at that time. Maybe it was because I was still too young to to uh, to understand the whole situation. And then next, it's your memory. You might have good memories when it comes to certain things, when it's tied with some emotions, some extreme emotions, I would say. Because I remembered there was a time when I was just about to start talking. So I remember that it was a morning, like a Sunday morning at the dining table, and then I saw a lizard, a house lizard, like underneath the toaster. It was waiting for the right time to come out and take and eat that dollop of jam that is spilled on the table. So I was sitting right across the toaster and I saw the lizard. I think it fascinates me a little bit. So that's why I very much wanted to pointed that out to my parents. But at the same time, I remembered that that was before I say anything in um, in our language. Like before that, I was still baby talking. So I was wondering whether or not that was the right time for me to say things, because what I was about to say will be a whole full sentence instead of just that one word. I had already passed the one word milestone straight to the first word milestone straight to the first sentence milestone. So in the end, I did tell my parents, and I remembered their reactions. They were quite amused and amazed, which brings us um, to the next sign. It is that you will notice that you are gifted in certain area at a very young age, and for me, that was my linguistic capability. I pick up language very fast. So for you, it might be in some other areas like music or art or numbers, can be anything. So, but I think music and drawing mm, might be, but I think music and drawing are the easiest form of communication for children, because that's the way that they can express themselves the most. When you're happy, you sing or you draw. When you are very limited in your vocabularies, you haven't learned too many words yet to express yourself. So music and arts and drawings can be very good ways for you to get your message across. So um, consider that as well. Okay. Sorry, I need to drink some water. I was a bit thirsty from all the talking. Just plain water if you are curious. Where were we? Oh yeah. So moving on to my adolescence. My adolescence was quite dark. Uh, there were times where there's a lapse in between from like my whole memory. There was a lapse because I think on a conscious level it was too much for my mind to cope with, and so as a defense mechanism, my conscious mind was trying to curb that by making myself forget about those experiences. But what I do remember was that I was deeply traumatized, and that was what triggered my suppression of my psychic ability. So across the street from where we live, there was a restaurant, and then at night, most of the customers there were middle-aged men, and I overheard the neighbors talking about it because there were prostitutes sitting around. And at that stage, I was able to pick up vibrations just by looking at that person. So I remember looking from my window across the street to those prostitutes, and I immediately picked up those very negative thoughts and vibrations. You know, the thoughts of self-loathe, self-hatred, self-destructing behaviors and all those. Yeah, so it it was very traumatizing for me, and I think from then onwards, I don't really remember how long that had been going on, and also because it was like a buzzing town, and I pick up a lot of vibrations all the time, especially when it's really busy. Early morning, not so much. Early morning when I go to school, that was still fine, but by the time I come home from school, that's when I get um, very easily um, frustrated and very temperamental, because there was just too much of frustration going around and within myself. So I think that was what triggered my suppression. And then 3 years after that, we moved again to a different neighborhood, and I got better. But at that time, I still have sometimes dreams of the future, and deja vu. Like, you might have deja vu on and off, or maybe frequent when you're in a very relaxed state, when you're not bothered or troubled by things in your daily life. So I still got that on and off, not very frequent, but not so much of other people's vibration, not so much of sensing other presence. Um, yes, that was the first half of my adolescence, and then towards the other half, um, I start to get it back again. It's like I can no longer suppress them. I I begin to feel the presence again, because that was when we moved to a different house within the same area, but I felt it again. Like, I can felt spirits around the house. I can feel vibrations again, and yeah, and I remember I was being very scared all the time. I tried not to watch any horror movies or anything. I've always been scared. Yes, you guys might always be afraid of horror movies. That was one of the reason, was because when you watch horror movies, you will vibrate at the same frequency as the spirits. So it makes you more susceptible for to their interruptions and disturbances, even when you're awake, not just when you're sleeping, which is what I would want to touch on later. Before that, there's one more thing. When you are in your adolescence, you might be very prone to substance abuse. And I remember at the time, there was just this voice telling me that it doesn't work that way. Suppress um, you can't suppress your psychic abilities with something that only works on your conscious level, that works on your conscious level of your mind. So maybe it was my angel telling me that, or something. I wouldn't know any friends who have access to that anyway. I'm allergic to alcohol. I don't know how I found that out. I don't remember. I think it was like once during Chinese New Year, I tried, one of the uncles like shoved me a beer, and then I took a few sips, and the next hour, within the next hour, I got rashes all over my body. Yeah, so that was it. You might be you might have gone through substance abuse in order to suppress your ability. Uh, yeah. So now moving on to my adulthood, which is more or less like the reawakening of my psychic abilities. I would say the stages differ for every person, but generally that's what you would go through without proper guide, like from a proper psychic. If you are not on an apprenticeship with some mentor or some sort, you might, this is like what I went through, because I didn't have someone to guide me along the way. Maybe if they are, then you would have skipped the suppression phase and go straight from your childhood to, strengthen, and then you might be like a great psychic at a very young age. I wonder, because I don't have any psychic friends. I mean, I do have psychic friends, but they were not born psychic, they were trained psychic. So there is a difference, I think. There is a difference as to how they perceive things and how we perceive things. We are more instinctive in that sense. While they are trained to see, we are trained to feel. If you can, get the sense of it. Well, let's move on to adulthood. Uh, I I think I started to get very interested in tarot reading and in astrology when I was 19 or 20. Yeah, yeah, I think I got my first tarot deck when I was 19 or 20, somewhere around there. And then I did it together with my cousin, so that we can, oh, what, because most of the time we can't do readings for ourselves. There's this ego thing going on, you kind of have a feeling that the card that you're gonna pick is not something that you would want to hear or you want to see, then you would skip that card and pick another card, so it's not exactly very accurate. It's not smart to do that. So yeah, when my cousin and I picked up tarot reading, we were like so excited to read for each other. But I'm not sure, because she gave up halfway through. I mean, she didn't really give up, but she um, the passion kind of simmered down. So before she got to do my reading, but I still do it for her sometimes when I see her, and if I happen to have my deck with me. Anyway, I digress. I would hear ringing in my ears, and I get advices more often. Advices from, I don't know, from the angels or from spirits. I'm not too sure what they are anymore. I can't decipher. Actually, I can. You get a different vibes, which brings us to the next point. The tingling sensations on different parts of your skin. Sometimes it's on the scalp, sometimes it's on just one side of the body or the other. You get just a tingling sensation and then slight goosebumps. Yeah, this is a sign that there are some entities around you. It might be your guardian angel or your spirit or spirit guides or uh, basically other spirits. Not so much of other spirits, because spirits, when they are around you, the harmless ones, I would say usually you feel a chill that comes from within, which is a lot like a chill that you get when you are having a fever. That kind of chill, no matter how many blankets you have covered yourself with, you still feel that chill because it's from within. I am the kind of person who gets cold very easily. So if I feel hot suddenly, like out of the blue, uh, it tells me that there is a very negative spirit around. And most of the time, it happens when I am not home. It's either when I'm at a hotel, like during the holidays, or when I'm at a stranger's house, old house. They tend to harbor this kind of spirits. So yeah, that's why if you if you are attuned to your psychic abilities, then you would know that these spirits, they are constantly trying um, to get through you, or to communicate with you, or just to disturb you, because I don't know, somehow they think that they perceive that you might be able um, to see them or to help them in some ways, I think. And sometimes your sleep is disturbed in the middle of the night because you are very susceptible and very, very vulnerable to spirits disturbing you at your sleep. Because as we sleep, we are um, vibrating at a theta or delta state. So it's a very low frequency, and that is when they can intervene and come in and disturb you. Uh, yeah, so you might have fear of that. The second fear might be mirrors. Up to today, uh, I'm still scared if I have to pass by mirrors at night because I'm really afraid that I might find something or someone standing behind me. Moving on to your interactions with other people, you will have more fulfilling and meaningful relationships with the people in your life, because you are more attuned to your to other people's vibration, and then you know what to say in order to comfort them and make them feel better. In other words, you're more empathetic, and sometimes you might get messages from the angels to tell them to say something. So it's like the message goes through you to whoever who's listening without your conscious mind um, like interpreting what it is about. So most of the time when I only realize like what the other person is going through after I have said the message out loud. After I have delivered the message from the angel. I saw that glimmer in their eyes, that I realized that I've hit the right spot. But the credit goes to whichever angels was there at the time to give the message. So I only realized that they are going through that situation after I've said the message out loud. Yeah, and also you wouldn't like to hang out in big groups because you now know that you are very susceptible to other people's energy. So you would choose wisely who you want to spend your time with, and it's definitely not with a whole big group of friends. You would prefer to just hang out and chill with maybe maximum three friends, not including yourself, but three, so that you can have more meaningful conversations with each of them. And you're also like a walking BS slash lie detector. Like they can never ever, through their facades and through their masks, through their smiles, through their courteous personality, charm their way out uh, from with, you know, after doing some sneaky things. You just know, it's like intuitively you just know. So that being said, you might feel easily tired emotionally because you're constantly just picking up vibrations and energies from the people around you, and so you like to spend time in nature, um, where there are less people and distractions, you know, at the beach or in the forest, like going for walks in the park. I like parks, but not when it's crowded. I like to go to parks like on a Monday morning, or like any time when people are at work and but I am off work. Uh, and I realize that now I can't see aura in people, but I can see aura of a place. I can feel aura of the place. Not as in colors kind of aura, but the overall energy of the place. Yeah, I can see that, and I can sometimes smell presence as well. I'm glad in a way it wasn't my sense of sight, because I think it would totally creep me out if I ever see spirits or like other entities, no matter what time of the day it is. I mean, it would totally creeps me out. I don't know if you can hear that it's raining outside. I just got back from work. Anyway, let us continue. Where were we? I hope that you will see what I see when it comes to healing. So, let's say in Western medicine, a doctor's job is to find out what is the cause of your sickness and then do something about it. He either perform surgery to remove something, or prescribe drugs to heal something or to kill something, and any other ways that would, you know, help to eliminate the cause. But spiritually speaking, um, it is the soul that must be healed first, because when the soul is being depressed enough that it shows in the physical body, then whatever illness it is in the physical body will come back. Why? Because the cause is not in the body, the cause is in the soul. So we are, in that sense, we are the healer or the doctor for the soul. And I hope that you will practice your craft and try to heal the people around you, because prevention is better than cure any day. And when you have a healthy soul, then you have a healthy body. That's what I believe in. It doesn't even have to be many people. You know, you can always start with yourself, of course, then the people around you. And when the angels see that you are capable of helping people, then naturally the stars will align, the universe will align, and people will come to you at the right time. And then you will know that there's no such thing as a coincidence. On the side note, um, besides all the emotional strives that I have been through, from my younger life to my childhood to my adolescence, I actually did pretty well at school. I was a straight A student. I was active in all the societies, and I was always going everywhere with competitions and all. So it didn't affect me that much on the outside, on the conscious level. I mean, my my mind still functioned as normal. It's just that the subconscious also seems to be fighting for my attention most of the time. But I do find it sometimes hard to focus because when the lesson is being taught in front, I always find myself spaced out, like with a blank face, like this. I know it's really funny, but I still have that right now. Because whenever I go to my hairstylist or I got my makeup done, they all ask me the same question, like, I wonder what are you thinking about, that you seem to be in deep thoughts all the time. With strangers you can never be too honest about this. It might freak them out. I mean, you use your own discerning power. You can tell straight away, whether or not the other person is a believer or a skeptic. So I'll see you. Happy sharpening your intuition. I'll see you. Bye.